Would like to talk about my favorite Arbitrator build. This is the one I have found the most personal success with on the class, and it's the one that I completed multiple true solo missions with and have clutched many games since. And so it's the one that I've landed on that I find to be the most consistent. This video is going to be broken down into 3 parts. The first will be a breakdown of the build itself, so that you can get right into the gameplay if you choose. The second is going to be a breakdown of some of the underlying mechanics that help the build click. And then the third part will be some uncommentated gameplay. First, we'll start with the weapons and curios. Our melee weapon is the Arbitrator Shockmaul with a mobility dump. For our perks, we take Flak and Carapace. For our blessings, we take Relentless Strikes and High Voltage. Flak and Carapace are the most commonly engaged enemies with the Arbitrator Shockmaul. The Relentless Strikes is there for both Crusher DPS as well as boss damage, which this build does generally struggle with. High Voltage is also there because between the Arbitrator Shockmaul and the dog, you are electrocuting most enemies. High Voltage also provides higher boss damage because, due to the dog, you will be electrocuting bosses all of the time. For our ranged weapon, we take the Exterminator Shotgun. In this case, we take a stability dump, which I will explain in the mechanics section. For our perks, we take Flak and Maniac, as those are our most commonly engaged targets, being both specialists and elites. Scattershot gives us near guaranteed crit chance on every shot into elite packs, and then High Voltage is there to facilitate boss damage, as a result of our dog always applying shock. For our curios, we take 1 max health curio with combat ability regen, toughness, stamina regeneration, and then 2 toughness curios with the same thing. That max health curio is there to allow us to take additional chip damage and the occasional true grit hit. The stamina regen is also important to maintain high stamina when you are in those clutch situations, and stamina management might otherwise be difficult. The general policy with our talents is to take as much damage resistance and toughness gain as we can. This helps to minimize the amount of damage that we take and keep us up as long as possible to be a linchpin of our team. The Arbitrator has enough base damage that going for the damage nodes is generally excessive, and you get diminishing returns because almost all of them are specifically damage nodes and stack additively with each other. We take Hammer of Judgment in the first row because attack speed is a multiplicative DPS source, as well as giving us additional toughness back every time we hit something, so it helps to maintain our toughness. We take Up Close and Walk It Off, as well as Target Neutralized for additional toughness regeneration. We take Razor Jaw Augment, as this will speed up the time that our dog kills elites and specialists, as well as doing a surprising amount of additional AoE damage, which I'll talk about in the mechanics section. We take Toughness Damage Reduction Minor, and then go into Remote Detonation. Grenade pickups with the release of Hive Scum are extremely valuable because both Boombringer and Chem Grenade will tend to give you more value per unit than the Shock Mine, and so if you are running the dog, I highly recommend Remote Detonation because you will almost never be the priority for them. We go through the mandatory toughness node, and we take Concussive because Concussive is mandatory. That one requires a longer discussion, but suffice it to say, this is the node that makes Arbitrator overpowered. Suppression Protocols for additional toughness damage reduction. We'll take Mandibles, gives our Cybermastiff an incredible amount of both damage and CC. This node is also potentially overpowered. Imposing Force for additional damage resistance, which we will have large uptime on with our dog, and Canine Morale, which gives us and our team damage reduction and toughness, helping to sustain everybody. We take part of the squad as our aura for additional toughness damage reduction. We take Plasteel Plates because we have to. We take Unleashed Brutality to speed up the time that our dog will kill elites and specialists, and also allow him to hunt them himself. Because of his independence, it is the reason that we are not running Man and Cybermastiff. we go through the cleave boost to get to Castigator stance. This is not mandatory. If you prefer Break the Line, go for the impact node and take Break the Line. Break the Line tends to require more nodes in support in order to be really good. I don't prefer it. Castigator stance also got buffed in this most recent patch. While it did lose 10% damage taken, which is more of a nerf than it might appear, it gained 20% strength, which is a damage statistic that Arbitrator has nearly no access to otherwise and stacks multiplicatively with all of their other damage nodes. This gives them an incredible amount of damage output while they are in Castigator stance. We then take Arbites Revelatum for damage on dodge and Zealous Dedication. This crit chance on kill makes the weapons feel incredible. 16% crit chance doesn't sound like a lot, but on a class with a base 5% crit chance, this quadruples your crit chance. It gives you a ton of cleave and a ton of damage in hordes. You will mulch them even with the relatively low amount of damage that you have on this build. Justified Measures, which we'll talk more about why this will always be at max stacks in the mechanics section. Street Smarts gives you an incredible amount of safety. Dodges are extremely important, and this gives you more of them and makes them better. Hold the Line is damage reduction, and then we take Drive Them Back. We do a lot of heavy attacks, and so you might consider Weight of the Lex. You already have enough damage in this, and the cleave feels incredible. You will be able to push through bruisers fairly easily. Emperor's Fist is necessary for hitting some stagger breakpoints. And then we take True Grit. True Grit is one of the many things that ties this build together. True Grit will cover up almost all of your mistakes. Overheads are trivial. You miss a dodge on a sniper, you don't care that much. A teammate fails to push a Poxburster, you're laughing. Altogether, True Grit is one of the strongest nodes probably in all of Darktide. And so I don't leave home without it. And for our keystone, we take Forceful. Forceful is extremely potent in terms of its effect, doubly so on dog builds, which we'll talk about more in the mechanics section. We take Will of the Lex for additional toughness regeneration, and then we take Targets Acquired for even more attack speed and cleave. All of this together gives us a really strong amount of DPS by mixing together multiple multiplicative factors such as cleave, attack speed, damage, strength, and crit chance, while maximizing our defensive potential. Combined with toughness replenishment, the extremely large amounts of damage reduction should make you take very little damage, especially if you're dodging consistently. So what makes having a dog so much better than Lone Wolf? With Lone Wolf, what you get is grenades that come back on a cooldown. With shock mines, it can be extremely potent, and there is a reason that that is the current meta for Arbitrator. However, in losing the dog, you lose out on some important factors. First of all, you have many, many talents that trigger on hit. The dog, if you watch the buff bar, can trigger multiple of them. Each time that he is biting that gunner, he is giving me a stack of all of those one-hit buffs. This gives permanent uptime on 2 different damage reduction buffs and 1 damage buff. As a result, he provides a solid buff to your actual damage output. In addition, when he is getting kills, you can see that we're getting our crit chance buff, as well as multiple different on-kill buffs, such as on killing elite, we get our damage resist, as well as whenever we kill a pounce target, he gives the toughness over time and damage reduction. Our dog isn't just there to sustain our buffs. Our dog has a secondary purpose. On Zealot, Blades of Faith is generally considered their strongest blitz. Their grenades are the weakest, and they have the lowest grenade priority of any class on the team. As a result, they use a replenishing ability to snipe elites at a distance, which can allow them to take guns that are less good at it, such as the Flamer or the Bolter. With Dog, we have Blades of Faith that can never run out. It's not as instant as Blades of Faith, we have the travel time, but he will hunt and kill any specialist that we ping. It has a lower skill floor than Blades of Faith, which requires that you get headshots to one-shot the elites, and it needs to be replenished in melee kills on specialists, which some lower skill players may struggle with. As a result, Dog acts as a really good intermediary infinite ammo special sniper, which can be absolutely essential in clutch situations. One of the other strange choices we make in this build with the Dog is that we take Razor Jaw Augment. After the nerf from 8 stacks to 6, the damage it did went down significantly, but it still does a fair amount of damage. When we pounce a target, we don't just apply bleed to the one that's pounced, but to everyone around it. This does a total of 247 damage, which, stacked up over the course of a mission, can bring down the health of elite packs, and generally if you're in a clutch situation, it will help tremendously with whittling them down while you are maneuvering. It can also provide a fair amount of additional boss damage. The next obvious question is how much damage does our Dog actually do? I recorded one Auric Maelstrom game and 2 Auric quick plays to attempt to answer that question. Firstly, we need to talk about what damage is our Dog actually doing. In Power DI, we have this companion tag. This is all damage that our Dog is doing. Secondarily, because he is applying the shock debuff and the bleeds, the Dog is doing the vast majority of our condition damage. There is a small amount of condition damage in all 3 of these games that is being dealt by the Exterminator shotgun and is being dealt by the special activation on the Arbitrator shock maul. That's going to make up the minority of the condition damage here. For the purpose of this, I am assuming that all condition damage is dealt by the Dog. So, we are dealing about 200,000 damage in this game between our companion damage and condition damage, accounting for almost 25% of my total damage dealt. In comparison to my teammates, you can see that it's about 1/3 of their damage. We had a disconnect, so that Psyker has a disproportionately low value. In this train mission, which is a lot shorter, we still see a similar result. We see 47,000, which accounts for about 1/5 of my overall damage output, and similarly 1/4 to 1/3 of my teammates' damage. Then we move on to this Auric Maelstrom, and the damage numbers, again, look pretty similar. We have 180,000 compared to 900,000, which makes up 1/5 of my total damage. The Dog is typically doing 20% of the damage that you as the Arbitrator would otherwise be doing. He does it passively, and he does it at range, without expending ammunition. This makes him an extremely effective tool in terms of damage output, not even accounting for the stagger and overall CC that he applies. In order to understand why the large amount of toughness regeneration we have and the large amount of damage reduction is so good, we first need to talk about how damage actually works in Darktide. We take health damage that is proportional to the amount of missing toughness. So if we are missing 10% of our toughness, 10% of the damage that we take in a hit will be health damage. Against ranged enemies, our toughness acts as an ablative shield, and we can't take health damage until after all of our toughness has been broken. We have multiple sources of toughness regeneration. It can cause it to be such that when we take multiple hits in succession, we wind up taking less damage from each successive hit on account of the toughness that we have regenerated between those hits, and can act like percent health damage reduction in function. The reason we use stability as the dump stat for our shotgun is because our aim fully resets between every shot while firing at max fire rate. As a result, we don't actually lose anything from dumping stability. For the specific environment of Auric, this build does more than enough damage. in all 3 of the games that I played, I was the top damage on my team, even competing with a Vrax Mark V infantry autogun Gunscum. Additionally, the extremely high toughness regeneration and toughness uptime also meant that I took extremely low sums of damage across all 3 of the games. Now that we've talked about what the build can do, we should talk about what the build can't do. Its time to kill on bosses is extremely high. As a result, if there is a monstrosity, it is your responsibility to focus on clearing out the horde, elites, and specials that are harassing your team, while the more capable members of your team are dealing with the monstrosity. In the event that you are in a solo situation, and you need to kill the monstrosity, you need to leverage your defensive attributes and your dodges, as well as using your dog as special sniping, in order to clear out everything to protect yourself. As long as you don't die, the game is still savable. How long you take to kill the boss is irrelevant to that equation. We should talk about who this build is for. This build is designed for people who play in Auric Quickplay and Auric Maelstroms, and want a build that will do more than enough damage to account for that environment and those breakpoints, and allow you to more readily clutch games and cover for your mistakes. In summation, this is an extremely safe build, capable of doing large amounts of damage. You will get more mileage out of this the better you get at the game. The more well-versed you are in the melee combat mechanics more than any other part of the build, the better you will see your results be. In addition, don't expect the build to solve every problem you might have. Dodging, blocking, and pushing are still all 3 very important qualities. As you will see in the gameplay in just a moment, pushing helps you to stack up all of that cleave, and your forceful stays at high values in order for you to just mop up hordes. That is where most of the damage output of this build comes from, as well as being able to leverage the Exterminator shotgun to clear up elite packs or thin down hordes that are harassing your team. With all of that established, I'll turn you over to the Auric Maelstrom game that I played. It was an extremely smooth game, but it gives a lot of the fundamentals of how the build should be played, as well as a couple mistakes in terms of what not to do. I hope you enjoy.
You are to proceed into HL-70-04, a zone overtaken by the pursuit of base pleasures and worthless pastimes. Recent developments have seen it transformed into a Mobian stronghold. This district is a locus for stim smugglers. My hypothesis is that these narcotics are tainted with the blight. You will raid the amphitheater and secure samples for study. Spiky ones will be alerted. Expect resistance.
Not exactly a no. There is no escape from the left. Why had a no? a winning strategy! That one!
Tell me, ship mistress, do you have a reason for overseeing this mission?
You are employing my ship as my my attendant.
As you say, ship mistress.
Look to your own back! Bomb it down!
Worthy of our name.
Now, the real fight! What's that that's coming in? Bomb is dead! That one! Feral hound! Tear them apart! Bomb is gone! Prepare for judgment! Let's breakers! On for the train! Let's go! I want them dead! That should keep the music quiet. That should stop the bombs. Misguided action serves no one. You know what to do. That one. Achieve anything down
You have reached the first waypoint. Proceed.
Fine effort, Reach its end.
safe access to enable extraction. For your own safety, you are advised to stem the flow of reinforcements.
Long, Yuri! Daddy's perishers know how to smile! Miserable lot!
I saw one smile.
How dead!
You are not together. You should be. Now.
Even denied?
Yes, that is what you are looking for. Don't go.
Enemy activity has been reported. I thought you'd like to know.
Indeed. Access the roof controls.
Launch clearance issued. There are
That's the house! Her is dealt with. The trapper is gone! The drake is dead! Trapper down! Hound's dead! Kill the trapper! Meditate station! You know what to do! Her is dealt with! That one! We must Watch the open! That's killing! Feral hound! Red light! Head down! I see you! I will bring you down! Quiet now! Trap is dead! Damn it, come on!
operation.
Shut down! Hochwester, stand well, please! Guilty sighting! Get back! Hochwester!
You taking a pic?
How?
Your mission is concluded. Should you wish to leave, now is the time.
Not.